Hello, everyone, and welcome to this audio podcast. This audio podcast is part of the Ghromulin series. This audio podcast is part of the Photon Saga, and this audio podcast as part of a Storm Robotics production. In today's audio podcast, looking at sorry, in addition to the sort of the outline of the methodology in the previous audio podcast as part of this series. Now looking at sort of protocol and the sort of protocol and protocol procedure in around this works as part of this works from 2008, and looking at the role of endogenous opioids in ischemic preconditioning in humans. So, as part of the procedure, there were three. There were as part of this works, as part of this works, and this as part of this works, and part of the procedure. There were three main. There are three main protocols, three main procedural protocols, three main procedure and protocols. So, initially there was a look at ischaemic-reperfusion in as part of a control in as part of a sort of a control investigation, where, for example, a arterial blood pressure cuff, for example, was applied to a healthy volunteer's sort of right arm for a set time of, for example, up to 62 minutes. So initially there was 11 minutes where there was a look at blood flow, in around the initial 11 minutes through ultrasound, and looking at flow mediated dilatation. And then secondly, there was ischemia, so where the arterial blood pressure cuff was inflated for up to 20 minutes. And then there was reperfusion, that is where the arterial blood pressure cuff was the arterial blood pressure cuff was for 20 minutes to look at reperfusion. And then there was a second look at flow mediated dilatation in around 11 minutes. This was part of ischemic reperfusion, and the sort of looking at the baseline investigation, or the ischemic reperfusion control. So ischemic control. So looking at protocol. So procedure one. Procedure one, or protocol one, looking at measuring and understanding baseline arterial function, and then also looking at the induction of ischemic reperfusion injury and the effect on endothelial dysfunction, and also thirdly, as part of protocol one, or procedure one, was looking at measuring arterial function for a second time. Now looking at sort of procedure two, or protocol two, where there was ischemic reperfusion and preconditioning, or IPC injury investigation, and wherein the arterial blood pressure cuff was applied to a healthy human volunteer on their right arm for a total of 77 minutes. Now the procedure was the procedure or the protocol the procedure or protocol around this was there was a look at flow mediated dilatation initially, and then there was reperfusion. There was reperfusion. Then there was ischaemic. Sorry. There was flow mediated dilatation initially. I look at flow mediated dilatation initially. Then secondly, there was inflation. There was an increase in the arterial blood pressure cuff to demonstrate ischemia or lack of blood flow. Then there was reperfusion. Then there was reperfusion where the blood pressure cuff or the arterial blood pressure cuff was loosened, and then there was an increase in ischemia again. So where the arterial blood pressure cuff was increased, and then there was where the arterial blood pressure cuff was loosened again, and then the arterial blood pressure cuff was increased again, and then there was the arterial blood pressure cuff was loosened, and then there and then for a final time in as part of procedure 2, there was an increase of the blood pressure cuff, increase in the blood pressure cuff for a longer duration, and then there was a and then where the arterial blood pressure cuff was loosened, and then there was a look at flow mediated dilatation through ultrasound to look at the effects, to look at effects of ischaemia-reperfusion and IPC injury and IPC injury as part of protocol procedure 2. So IPC, the protocol 2 again looked at IPC, and ischaemic-reperfusion injury and the effect of IPC on endothelial reperfusion injury. And then finally there was a third protocol procedure, and this a third protocol procedure, and wherein there was IPC, and then where naloxone was injected. Naloxone was injected. It was injected, and the in as part of protocol 3, there was a part of the procedure where the right arm in around those who had volunteered, healthy volunteers, where the right arm was the right arm had an arterial blood pressure cuff, and where the arterial blood pressure cuff was increased, and the total time this time in around protocol procedure 3 was 117 minutes. So as part of this, there was a look at flow mediated dilatation through ultrasound, and then there was a bolus, a sort of initial or bolus sort of injection of up to 10 minutes of naloxone, and then there was ischemia. There was an increase in around the arterial blood pressure cuff, and then there was reperfusion, and then there was an increase in the blood pressure. There was where the blood pressure cuff was loosened to depict the reperfusion, and then there was an increase in the arterial blood pressure cuff, a sort of a second time as part of protocol 3 or procedure 3. And in this time in between, where there was ischaemia or bases in around ischaemia, then reperfusion, and then ischaemia again, where there was the initial bolus amount of naloxone of the naloxone opioid receptor blockade. There was then where the bolus amount was for 10 was up to was for 10 minutes. There was then an additional up to 30 minutes of naloxone that had been injected as part of this as part of protocol procedure 3. Then there was reperfusion. Then there was ischaemia, then reperfusion, then ischaemia and reperfusion, for a longer duration to the as part of procedure 3 or protocol 3, as part of protocol 3 or procedure 3, toward the sort of latter part of the procedure 3. And then there was a look at flow mediated dilatation, i.e. again a look at blood flow, through ultrasound investigation, at that sort of that followed. And then as part of protocol 3 or procedure 3, there was the use of naloxone and IPC plus IPC plus ischaemic reperfusion injury, and to understand to look at the effect of naloxone on IPC. As part of procedure 3, additionally, however, as part of following on from protocol 3, there was protocol 4. Now, protocol 4 primarily focuses on the laboratory, again, the sort of laboratory medicine aspects of this investigation, and wherein enzyme, again, using enzyme linked immunosorbent assay, or ELISA, to determine beta endorphin, to determine beta endorphin, and to determine beta endorphin levels, to identify and establish whether it had a local effect to induce protection during ischaemia-reperfusion injury. So, as part of protocol 4, protocol 4, which was a protocol that was specific to the sort of the pathology or the laboratory medicine aspects, was where there was a look at sort of the baseline levels in around beta endorphin samples, and samples of blood to determine beta endorphin levels, were taken where blood samples were taken from the thigh of volunteers, of human volunteers, and then were where the assay looked to determine whether the whether there was effect in regard to remote ischaemic preconditioning in around remote ischaemic preconditioning. The in this works as part of this works from 2008, there is a there is there is there was a procedure there was a procedure where there was a procedure where collaborators had 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 implemented beta endorphin assays in one in around laboratory in a laboratory environment in around a laboratory environment, and there was there were several as part of the as part of the as part of the procedure. There was there were several there were several sort of steps, if you like, several sort of steps that actually where laboratory colleagues look to assess the beta endorphin levels. And for the purpose of this audio podcast, purpose of this audio podcast, there will not be a sort of a delving into the sort of full procedure of the ELISA the ELISA assay to determine the endogenous opioid beta endorphin. However, to inform listeners and viewers that there are papers and publications that can be identified to look at how certain and specific how specific and sort of particular sort of assays can be used to determine different sort of molecular and sort of pathophysiological components, and so and so and so to additionally iterate here, to iterate and to signpost to publications, to literature or publications that look at a particular assays to gain some sort of familiarity around how laboratory medicine is and can be important, and absolutely important, and sort of absolutely important in around determining such components, such components, or sort of at sort of molecular sort of level. So that draws this audio podcast to a close. This audio podcast as part of the Ghromulin series, this audio podcast as part of a Photon Saga, and this audio podcast as part of a Storm Robotics production.